Hello, my fellow mothers. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is For the Love of Self podcast, where we talk about motherhood, mental health, and manifestation. This is your host, Heather Murphy. I am a certified embodiment coach and a trauma informed breathwork facilitator, and I help moms who do everything start actually making time for themselves, their passions, and evolve into their most authentic self. Today we have Carolina Sotomayor on, and she is a Reiki fertility master. And I'm so excited for this interview because I've actually been reading Spirit Babies this week, which is such a lovely book. It's so sweet. There's so many lovely healing stories in there, and I highly recommend it if you have any surrounding issues with fertility or otherwise. But today you're going to learn so much about Carolina, and she's so lovely. She talks about her story of conceiving and getting pregnant after having gone through a traumatic injury of falling off of her horse, and how she became a Reiki master. And she talks about the history of Reiki, of course. She shares about how Reiki can really help these trapped emotions that are preventing people from getting pregnant. And so Carolina has helped bring in, as of the date of that this recording that I'm about to put on for you, 81 Reiki babies. I'm sure it's more by now at this point. She truly is such a gift to this world. I just love her energy, and I cannot wait to visit with her again someday. Like, my husband and I want to plan a cross-country road trip with our 8-year-old. No, I said 8-year-old. She's 7. She's only 7. Slow down. With our 7-year-old. And yeah, we want to see the world. And seeing Carolina is like on my list. Like, I really want to connect with her in person because she has some magic ass energy. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this interview. And just real quick, before I start that interview for you, I want to invite you to a cup of coffee. I was wondering, if you're a mom and you are struggling to make time for yourself and your passions, maybe after having kids, you just are feeling like you're leaning on some crutches a little bit. You're not getting the spaciousness that you need to sort of allow yourself to be rested. Maybe you're snapping at family members. You're just maybe not getting the most out of your life. I would love to buy you a cup of coffee and essentially interview you and hear more about your life. This is just a chance for us to get to know each other, really, and for me to hold space for you. This is one of my superpowers. I am a safe presence for you to be heard, to be understood. And I really strongly believe that if mothers can become their most authentic selves, then they're going to be the best moms, the best partners, and such a gift. I think that they're going to make more money. I think they're going to put more beauty and passion into this world. So it's so important to me that mothers love themselves so holistically and completely that they can just be whoever the hell they want and show their children what a gift that is. So yeah, if you feel called to have some coffee with me, let me buy you a cup of coffee and we'll chat and get to know each other. That'll be it. And you can just go ahead and schedule down in the show notes. There's a link for you. So I hope you enjoy the interview. Please feel free to leave a review of the podcast. It really does help it out. And I hope you have a lovely day. Take care of yourself and don't forget to love yourself so deeply. Hello, and welcome to For the Love of Self podcast. I'm your host, Heather, and today we have a lovely guest on that I'm so glad to see again, a Reiki master who has an incredible story of conceiving her wonderful child, who I got to see briefly last time we met, and her name is Carolina Sotomayor. Did I say that right? Sotomayor?
Sotomayor.
Sotomayor.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said it all
It's
like
all good. It's all good. Everyone gets it. Really, nobody ever gets it right. It's all good.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad to have you here today because we've never had anyone on to talk about Reiki before.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I
I'm so excited
know.
you asked me. I loved having you on my podcast. And it was
Yeah.
a killer episode. So I was just like, yes, let me
Yeah.
come.
I know. I've been wanting to have you here forever. So let's get started with just tell us a little bit about how you got started with Reiki. First of all, like, I mean, how do you find your way into that land of magic energy?
Well, my dad died in 2014, and I was on a healing journey through talk therapy, and
Mm,
we transitioned. Fast forward, we were not getting pregnant, and I didn't know anything about fertility. I I didn't know anything about ovulation. I didn't know anything about my cycle, like literally nothing. I was so ignorant. And I just didn't know. So we were just having sex thinking that we were going to get pregnant, and that's what we were taught. That's what I learned. And that's what I assumed. So when we weren't getting pregnant, I was like, okay, what do we do? And then it's consequently, while in that journey, I fell off a horse, my horse. And I suffered a concussion. I was put on medical leave. When was put on medical leave, all this, like, it was like a godsmack. Everything just came together. I wasn't healing the way I was supposed to. My memory wasn't coming back the way it was supposed to. So my husband took me to a psychic shop. I walked in, and she had given us readings before. And I was taking a lot of her workshops that were in person about how to meditate, how to connect with your spirit guides. I was definitely, knee deep in my spiritual awakening. And she's like, I was like, do I have any rocks, any crystals for concussion? It's my concussion. I can't work. I'm on medical leave. She's like, you don't need anything. You need Reiki. Like, you don't need any crystals. You need Reiki. Your sacral and throat are blocked, which are they're directly linked. And I said, okay. She handed me a card. Consequently, I had a therapy appointment that same week with my grief counselor, my grief therapist, and I wasn't progressing necessarily as fast as she would like. I had been with her, a little under 2 years at this point. My dad died in April of 2014. This is the beginning of 2016, and I just wasn't progressing. I was still feeling a lot of heaviness, still having panic attacks, still feeling like very angry. And she's like, you either need to do Reiki or you need to get on an antidepressant, because I think that this is like, you need additional support than what we're doing here. And I just refused to do any antidepressants because I had done them in my 20s. And I just, if I was, this was just a very personal choice. I'm an advocate for you to make your own choices and what's best between you and your doctor. So if you're listening to this, do what's always best for you. For me at that point, that's what I was approaching. And I was wanting to keep my body as clean as possible, in my opinion. And that I was like, I had just done that before, and it just made me feel so off and not like myself. And that I was already feeling so much. I didn't want to, I wanted to be able to feel what I was feeling and know what I was feeling. And when I was on that kind of medication before, I wasn't able to know all the things I was feeling. So so two people in the same week recommended Reiki. And I was like, what the fudge is this stuff? So I, being much more trusting of the therapist, went to her recommendation instead of the psychic. So a psychic and my therapist gave me the recommendation to get Reiki in the same week. I had never heard of it before. So I went to the lady who she recommended, and she was like, she was one of the most beautiful people I've ever met in my life. Just not like, just her presence was a sheer earth angel, very common, very, very calming, very serene. Um, I did the Reiki session with her. It was a Reiki massage. This lady was known for certified in trauma massage. So she massaged the trauma out of your tissues, but she also did Reiki. And so I did a 90-minute session with her. It ended up being like almost 2 hours with her. My husband picked me up, and I was just like, I felt I was floating. And on the way there, I said, you know, the psychic had said I needed this in order to get pregnant. I said, at that point, like, I didn't really know what chakras were, but I had known at this point they had to be open. So I was like, I said, I have to be okay. I just remember driving the way there I said, if this doesn't work, like meaning like help me, and I just needed to be okay with us not having a baby, because at this point I knew like that lady said I needed this in order to conceive, and this is what was read like if this didn't work, then I just need us to be okay with us being us and not having a baby. And he said, yes, of course. And I said, I'm okay if it's just being us. 1 month after that session, we were pregnant with Ollie.
Mm.
And that was really what it is. It was like, I say Godsmack because I had a lot of warning signs in my life, and I was like a hurricane, like, and I was missing all the signs that I needed to slow down my life. I had no grounding practice. It was just chaos, and I was making more chaos. And I thought I was making all the right decisions, but I was not really taking care of myself, and I was running. And then God said, "You're going to be made to sit still." So, I sat still during those weeks on, and it wasn't for the horse accident and those interactions, I wouldn't have gotten pregnant, because I was forced to sit still. I couldn't be on the iPad, couldn't be on the phone, because it was, I had also a problem with my vision, like a depth perception, and, I couldn't drive, and there was something with my eyes, I can't remember. This was such a long time ago. I couldn't, so I was out of work, like 6 weeks. Like, my memory wasn't coming back. Like, I couldn't, they would say a series of numbers, and I couldn't repeat back the numbers, and it was like, you have to repeat the numbers backwards, and I couldn't. So I got Reiki, and I just had a lot of sex. So
Oh my God, yeah, because like, well,
I
like you
couldn't do
said,
anything else. I couldn't, like, couldn't
this is
read.
why,
My eyes couldn't focus on a page.
yeah,
Like, so, like,
wow.
literally, it was, like, the most random, they're, like, real I was like, "Honestly, it's the most wild story." I had horses, I fell off. Even that's a crazy story in itself. Put on medical leave because I couldn't work. I was working, like, what I thought was, like, the best job I ever had, and everything
Right.
was going right on paper, but I was a fucking mess.
Yeah,
So
wow.
so 2 people that were not related in the same week told me to get Reiki, and I was like, "I better pay attention." So
Mhm.
then I went to, and that woman ended up giving me Reiki through my pregnancy, and then became my Reiki teacher,
Mhm.
and now she's like, and she's given Reiki to me, my husband, and she's given Reiki to my son. So, she's I call her my Reiki mother.
Mm.
She's an angel to me. Like, she has such wisdom, and every time I go see her, I end up sobbing because there's something that she gives me that is just so profound. I'm like, "What just happened?"
Right. Oh my God, what an incredible story, and what a beautiful, like, reference point in terms of your story of how everything is always happening for us, even though it feels like a fucking shit show.
Oh, no, I
Because,
was a fucking shit show, like, for sure.
well, just
Like, I
thinking
was
about you falling
a
off your
mess.
horse, people would be like, my life is over or something, but it's
I should
like,
have died. No, like, I should have,
wow,
like, if I wasn't wearing a helmet, I would have died. They said they're like,
you hit your head
"Y"
pretty hard.
I fell in a ditch.
Oh,
My horse went right, I went left, there was a gunshot, and I live in rural, like, where I was riding was in rural Nebraska, outside of
yeah.
Omaha. So, yeah, it wasn't it wasn't
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, probably not very close to a hospital either, I would
It
imagine.
it w it I mean, we weren't too far from a hospital, but it wasn't like we weren't in city limits. We were in,
In
like,
town.
a very small suburb of Omaha, but, like, far out enough where people can hunt. So,
Wow.
but, yeah,
And
we were
then
probably 20 minutes from a hospital.
that's so crazy. And just exactly with what you said, this is the things that I feel like I really want people to hear is when you have a sign like two people telling you, like, hey, you should try this, or it's the universe and God is trying to send you, hello, hello, like you need to go. This is the path, like go this way. So,
Right, and it was literally at a standstill. Like,
mhm,
literally, like, if you don't adhere, or what's, I don't know another word, adhere to, like, the signs,
yeah.
it's only gonna get louder and more
Hmm.
abrupt from the universe. I feel
Yeah.
like, especially if you have consented and invited in, entities, like as angels and spirit guides.
Mhm.
Certainly, like I believe in God. I got goosebumps all over. Like I invited this in to
Yeah.
interfere, like because I was taking those workshops. So I was like, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Like invite your spirit guides of love and light to work on your behalf for your highest good. It
Yeah.
was like, get me pregnant. Like
Yeah.
I wanted a house. I was inviting in a lot of stuff. And I invited in angels to work on my behalf. I was learning about archangels. I was
Mm.
asking for my ancestors. Definitely was asking for my dad. So like they were also protecting me, but they were also like, you know, because I gave them permission to intervene to help get me to where I needed to go. So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah,
That's so
be careful what you
beautiful.
call in.
I know. It's so true, but it's all happening for you, and thank you for sharing that part of your story. That's so crazy and incredible, and, yeah, like, the next part I'd really love is just for the person that's listening that's like, "What the hell is Reiki?" Like, can you just give
Oh
us a
yeah,
little background of, like, what are you even
sure.
talking about?
So I'll give you the textbook, like technical
Yeah,
definition. So
sounds
Reiki is
good.
a form of energy healing. It's a lot of people will say a modality. So a modality is just a technique or just a form of energy healing. Reiki is known as the gateway. It's like the most mainstream type of energy healing that can be found or be provided. So basically, Reiki is the life force energy that is present in the world. And what happens is the practitioner has been certified and trained to channel that either physically or through distance Reiki, which can be done virtually or over the phone, and they channel it through the palms of their hands. Reiki also be given with your eyes and with the intention from just as you connecting with the other person. Reiki should only be given when you consent to it and not given without consent. Reiki basically transcends time and space because basically it's all vibration and frequency.
Yeah.
So they're taking the life force energy that makes something alive, such as the energy that makes the grass grow, your lungs expand. That's the
Mhm.
life force energy. The life force energy is essentially the energy and the vibration, the essence of what makes something alive versus dead.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. So anyone can get certified in Reiki, facts. There's different lineages is the common word that is used. Basically, that's different types of Reiki or themes within the Reiki, such as I'm attuned. Attuned means the installation of the Reiki into your system. It permanently raises your vibration. And I'm attuned to 4 different lineages, all Reiki master. Reiki master is teacher level.
Mhm.
And so I'm attuned to Kundalini Reiki, which it comes from Mother Earth,
Mm.
crystal Reiki, and how to use crystals and harness that to either install the Reiki into the crystal or use that and then use those crystals inside of a Reiki session. Then there's the original OG, which is Usui tradition Tibetan Reiki. Traditional
Wow.
Usui Tibetan Reiki, which is where it all stemmed from. And then the last one is what is the most popular across the globe. It's called Holy Fire 3 Reiki. Now, there is a 5th level to that one called Karuna, and I am attuned to that. I'm usually an all or nothing kind of girl because I usually go to the 9s with everything. So if there's a certification for a lineage and I feel attracted to it, I will do it to the highest level. So that's what I'm extra in every
I love
so
that.
most people just attune themselves to one level to Reiki 2 and one lineage. So why there's different lineages is that Reiki is meant to evolve. The way that they used to do it, it originated in Japan over 100 years ago. And when it came to the United States, the lady, Mrs. Takata is her name, brought it to the United States. It was during, I believe it was during World War II, and it had to be in secret. So nothing was written down. So with
Mm.
that, when nothing's written down and it's taught, like the symbols, depending on what lineage you can, if you Google like the different symbols, they could be reversed, depending on, so there's always, no, that's not correct. No, just do you. But
Yeah.
so that's just the gist, I guess, the encyclopedia version of Reiki. So Reiki is just basically the transmission of life force energy from the practitioner or Reiki master to the client that's consenting or paying for the session.
Wow.
So for me, learning and giving Reiki has allowed me to experience more of godlike experiences, meaning like miracles and also divine feminine energy. When I give myself Reiki or give Reiki to clients, I also receive Reiki. So when I'm
Mm,
flowing to them, I'm also giving myself Reiki. It allows me just to basically be the most grounded version of myself, which allows me to
mhm.
thus be my more authentic self.
Mm. Yeah, like because I think about, and maybe you want to elaborate on this more too, when you mentioned your sacral chakra and your throat chakra being blocked, like those are the things that don't allow us to be the fullest expression when we have those energetic blocks in our body, right? And so it blocks manifestations and the creating the reality, inviting other energy into our reality, right? Which might be a baby. So,
Right.
yeah.
So Reiki definitely works with your chakra system, which is you have 7 main chakras. Your sacral plexus chakra is located in your pelvis, and your throat is like on your larynx, on your throat. And in order to conceive, you must have the sacral plexus chakra open and flowing. There's a direct meridian line, which is an energetic line or highway that is connecting your throat chakra to your womb, your sacral plexus
Mm.
chakra.
Oh, wow.
So it's really important to understand your voice is not just used to communicate what you need or you want, but also to voice what you're desiring, what you're creating, what your soul wants, not things that are should.
Yeah.
And so it's really important that your womb is nurtured. Your womb is known for being the emotional center of your body. When we talk about emotional center, that's really about how long are you holding emotion for? How long are you feeling that emotion for? Do you feel safe enough to feel your emotions, let alone express them? And how you would express them or voice them is through your throat. So it's really important to understand like what emotional state are you in? So then that's just the feeling part. So then the next layer is, are you holding on to these or are you releasing them? We're not taught as a culture to release things. You're,
Yeah.
especially women, we're taught to be sweet, non-confrontational, to be good, sweet girls.
Mhm.
And that means not having a voice because good, sweet girls are not confrontational. Good, sweet
Yeah.
girls don't raise their voice. Good, sweet girls are not assertive.
Yeah.
So a lot of our voice, we're conditioned to not have one. So it's a lot to learn, like, how do you feel your emotions? Are you shutting them down? Your emotions as you're gonna feel emotions no matter how spiritual you are or whatever. You're a human, you're meant to have emotions. So but they can last between 60 and 90 seconds. So are you like recognizing and then also asking yourself, like, what is it I'm feeling? Where did it come from? Is this mine?
Mhm.
Is Are you picking up on other people's an empath is not a badge of honor. A lot of people
Yeah.
use it as one. It's not a fucking badge of honor. It's just it's actually a
Um,
trauma response.
oh, I'm
I'm an
laughing because
empath.
in my head, just go ahead. Sorry.
No, I get all the time. I'm an empath. Good for you,
Yeah.
homie. But did you
Mhm.
know that's a trauma response? Basically, it's just your gauge for knowing that you have had as a child, you learned to scan the room and see what the most violent emotional threat was to you and to stay away. So you
Mm.
are on hyper alert. That means your body is not in healing mode or rest mode. It's in survival mode. You're still in
Mhm.
fight or flight. So what are we going to do about that? So we need to move you out of that so that you can experience your emotions and be like, okay, it's safe for me to be mad. It's safe for me to express this. But then I'm going to move on from it. You're not holding on to it because when we hold on to emotion, it gets stuck in our tissues and then we get sick.
Yeah.
And that's what blocks chakras. So
Yeah.
Reiki uses the energy to unblock chakras so you can feel lighter, so you can feel cleaner, and so that you can physically either accelerate healing or prevent things. Reiki is given before surgeries a lot, and a lot of hospitals now have Reiki.
Mm.
Um, so Reiki can promote healing. It's not a cure. It's not a replacement for medical care, but it's a great marriage between a treatment plan that you're already doing with your doctor, a great marriage between manifesting goals and raising your vibration, and also removing any blockages or limiting beliefs that might be stuck in your tissues that need to be removed. Because what I learned from my experience is talk therapy was, I got super frustrated after a while and I quit. I was like, this is
Mhm.
bullshit. I've done the work. I've been with you. I've been sitting on your couch for a while. I did EDMR, which I fucking hated.
Mhm.
And it left me super, and I mean, it just wasn't good for me. It just left me so unwound and
Mhm.
unraveled. I was like, this is causing more damage than the actual event. It was too much for me. So for me is that when I went on to do Reiki, and while doing talk therapy, that was great. But then when I stepped fully into it and I was doing more Reiki, where I was like, I had talked all I could to talk about the events that I was hurting from the loss of my dad and consequent estate planning things that were really hard
Yeah.
after his death, and like frustrations of other things. 1 week, 1 year into the exact week after my dad had died, my horse had died. Um,
Mm.
5 days after my dad had died, my grandpa had died, which was his dad. So we had 3 deaths in a year.
Yeah.
So that's, like, something I probably, when I think of, is, like, my dad was my primary person that I was grieving. My horse was second, and then my grandpa. But, like, so I had 3 losses in 1 year.
Yeah.
Um, it was, and then we had a lawsuit with the estate planning service. So it was really traumatic year, and I was a newlywed.
Mm.
So, it was a shit show for a while, and for me, it was like, I need to feel better, I need to feel like I can breathe because I can't. And
Yeah.
nothing, I had the gynecologist said I was fine, the specialist said I was fine, did the blood work, did sensory stuff, like, all those things, everything was working fine. But it wasn't until I actually got to work with this lady who was a Reiki master, and we were working on my physical body and releasing what was trapped in there. And I started to learn breathing. And then she taught me, like, she slowly taught me, like, these are some things you can implement so you can cope daily because you still have a high stress job. You are now pregnant. So what are you going to do?
Mhm.
And I didn't learn Reiki officially, like, certification-wise, until Ollie was 6 months. I was 6 months postpartum, but I did, with Reiki, I was allowed to move a lot of the stuck trauma of all of those grieving things out of my body over time.
Mm. Yeah. Oh my
So, I think
gosh.
it's really important to remember that your womb holds emotion, it holds trauma, but until you electively, like, "I'm gonna make a change, I'm ready to release this," you have to make a conscious and subconscious decision to, "I wanna make this change, I want to release this, I want to let go." And
Yeah.
once I, like, had said that on such a soul level, my subconscious, like, was ready to let go too.
Intention is everything, right? It's so important. And saying that just really your body will say, "Okay." It
"Okay, let's
it'll
do
happen.
it."
Yeah, let's do it, and you'll feel it viscerally in your body. You'll feel that lightness and everything when you do this deep energetic work.
But
That's
I felt like I needed help because I didn't know how at
yeah.
that point. And
I
I think it's okay to ask for help. All the
yeah.
little kids have T-ball coaches and soccer coaches, so why can't you have a healing coach? Or why can't you
Right.
have, like, I always think about, like,
Yeah.
Shaq and LeBron or all those people. Like, I don't know anything
Yeah.
about sports, but every sport
Yeah.
has a coach.
Right.
And, so why can't you have a coach for healing? Maybe that's a healer, or maybe it is like a healing coach like myself, or, with breath work like yourself. Like, why
Yeah.
not?
Well, I need a breathwork coach myself, like, just because I know breathwork doesn't mean I do. I mean, I do guide myself, but it's like we all need support. We all need community. And so there's nothing wrong with, having your person that helps you. In fact, having multiple different, you might have a finance coach and a Reiki master
Oh,
working with,
yeah.
you know
Yeah,
what I
we had
mean?
a
It's just
finance
like,
coach for a while.
yeah, it's like it's so important to recognize that if there's a pattern in your life where you're feeling stuck or there's something, you're going through a huge grieving process, then get support, because if something like talk therapy, which I can totally relate to your story, I spent 20 years in and out of talk therapy, and finally it was embodiment work that actually helped me. So it,
Yeah, the thing I have with the talk therapy is it's only in your head. It's
yeah,
not, it doesn't do the holistic thing. With Reiki, there's 5 bodies. You have 5 layers to your aura.
yeah,
And Reiki penetrates all of those, and it goes down to a cellular DNA level and goes that far into your vibration to bring whatever is not healed, whether you're aware of it or not. You don't have to talk about it, which makes your triggers, your trauma response all over, like you're living it all over again. Reiki doesn't make you have to do that. Just raise it to the surface. And a lot of time people cry in Reiki sessions. Some of
yeah,
them fall asleep where they're so relaxed, but whatever is lower vibration will come to the surface, whether you are, well, what if I don't know what I need to heal? Well, you don't need to. That's the beauty about it. Is the life force
yeah.
energy is going to automatically know what it needs to do and to go where to it needs to in your body. So if I'm working on your feet, it needs to go to your heart, it'll do that.
Yeah. Well, this seems like such a great resource for practicing deep self-love and opening up your all the chakras so that things can just flow. And
Yeah.
I love that. So I would love to hear just briefly, even, I know you've helped a lot of women. You said I saw that you helped so far on the thing that I read was 60 Reiki babies. And I'm
We're
sure
up
it's
to
more than
80.
that.
That might
I
be
was like,
outdated.
I
We're
know
up
that's
to
what I was like, I'm sure it's more.
81. We're up
Yeah.
to
Oh,
81 as of our last one was like a couple weeks ago. It was 81. Yeah.
that's so
Yeah. We're
exciting. And
so
so
and so blessed. I mean, like it's my favorite thing.
I have chills. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So, like,
81 babies.
tell us a little bit about your work then and how people can work with you. And yeah.
Sure. I took, after I got certified, I sat with it for a while and I started postpartum, a mobile postpartum Reiki business going to mothers' homes. And then I
Mm,
switched to a chiropractor's office and I did that for a couple years. And then right before the pandemic, I like just had an aversion to doing in-service appointments. I just didn't want to touch anyone anymore. And my little wanted me home warm. So did my husband. So I was like, I'm going to do the online thing. This is 1 month before the pandemic.
oh, wow.
Everything happens usually a month before I do. Like if someone's going to get sick, then I get sick a month before, whatever. So
Wow.
I quit and I ended my lease in the chiropractor's office and I went all in. And what I discovered during my chiropractor time is that everything had at that during the chiropractor's office in all of those years up to that point before 2020, I had seen 500 women. And what I noticed that everything went back to the womb. And then someone had called me, "Oh, you're a womb healer," because everything I went back to, whether the woman was menopausal, premenopausal, whether they were trying to conceive, whether they were pregnant, whatever, all of their issues went back to the womb, whether they've had the best childhood, the worst childhood, or married well and done all the right things. It was feeling emotionally safe or not feeling it at all, or they didn't feel like they were worthy. So
Mm,
everything had to do with, if they were coming out, I don't feel worthy to come out because it's a sin, or just working through that. So it's not that the other chakras aren't important, but I had found in my work that Reiki was allowing women's wombs to open up. And what was that about? And that was basically coming home to yourself. It was
mm,
about learning that you can be emotionally healthy, you can be creative, you deserve pleasure. Where does your worthiness come from? Your self-worth is your birthright. It's not it's not related to your productivity, and that's a lot to wrap your head around. So
yeah.
womb work is basically um your shadow work and identity work, but located in your womb.
Mhm.
And then I also noticed that familial relationships, mother, father, brother, sister, or sibling relationships were also located in the womb. So their
Yeah.
connectivity, because it's all like a web. Think about it. Like your emotional health and what you learn about emotion and um, how you handle emotion is learned from what's modeled to you. So your mother-father relationships are there. If your father's not around and you're not given that fatherly love, then what does that have to do with then a lot of women take away, like, if there's an absent father relationship, taking and that results maybe in a single parent really in a home, that can mean that the woman has to be more alpha or more masculine to either take care of herself before she was ready to, because as a child, they might have to do, like, adult things like clean and take care of themselves, or, like, maybe, what do they call that? Latchkey kids.
Mhm.
A lot of women, I ran into that where they had to grow up very fast is what I was trying to get to.
So
Um,
Generation X or not, or is
yeah,
what is yeah,
so
X.
yeah, so then that leads into more leading with more masculine versus more feminine, or a balanced masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to understand, like, how all of that plays together, and then how does that affect their worth? Like, so women would come to me and for just any kind of reason, but I would only work with women. And then eventually, as I started to, like, define what my brand was and what was my favorite person to work with, and it was fertility. It was like, I love to make babies.
Mhm.
I'm done making babies. I have one and we're done.
Yeah,
But I love
same.
helping other women have babies, and also knowing, like, I have lived through it all, except I haven't gone through IVF and I haven't gone through IUI, but I have educated myself to support women through that. But I also know what it's like to go through pregnancy, have a traumatic birth, and have a very difficult and traumatic postpartum. So my dream is to serve women from preconception all the way through postpartum, and do it with Reiki, and allow them to move through those things much easier. My philosophy is the more we can heal up front and release traumatic events and address, like, your number one triggers, maybe top 5, it's gonna allow your fertility, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum to be as optimal as possible, to prevent complications by healing the traumas that can explode or erupt when you're most vulnerable.
Mm, I love
So,
that.
that's my if I had known that in my 20s I had an abortion, if I had known that that would play such a I thought I had handled it. I thought I had healed it, and boy, did I not. It
Mm,
came up really ugly in my postpartum, and it was really a hard thing to go through. When you're
mhm.
postpartum, all of it, you're very vulnerable through all those phases of motherhood. But when you're
Yeah,
a new mom and you are not I didn't know how to bathe a baby,
yeah.
and I was sleep deprived, and our village disappeared. It can
Mm,
wreak havoc on your mental state. And that's exactly what happened, and no woman deserves to have to go through that experience. And because I went through those experiences, I was like, "Well, this is for a purpose. I need to
yeah,
make sure that women know that this doesn't have to happen, that we
mm,
can make this different, that you just don't know what you don't know until you go through it." And I just wish women knew that you don't have to suffer in postpartum, you don't have to feel like shit. And you
mhm.
don't have to have a horrific first birth experience, because it's your first time.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. That was something I really worked on in my pregnancy, was just my mindset around and staying away from people that had tried to, like, put their scary stories on me and stuff. Just because I was
It's
like,
like
I
a
wanted to
full-time
have this
job.
I know, I wanted to
It's a
have this,
special
like,
gift
beautiful
people have.
birth. Right. Right.
Let me tell
Yeah.
you what my Aunt Sally said and what she did. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I had my aunt, and I, like, blocked her. Literally, I was, like, super I had my aunt tell me that my baby was gonna die because I was working 12-hour days and that I had a midwife. And I was like,
Oh,
block. Literally
yeah,
blocked her. She's still
I
blocked to this day.
good. Yeah, you gotta protect your energy when you're creating life force, so Yeah, well, this is so cool, and actually there's so many things that you brought up that have really pinged me personally that I'm just like I know last time we met, I was like, "I gotta get a Reiki session," so I'm gonna have to schedule that with you because 'cause I'm like, there's
Let me
definitely
know.
stuff, dad stuff for sure, abortion stuff I can relate to, and
Dad stuff was
this
really what was keeping me from getting pregnant. It was because I didn't feel
Wow.
safe. The grief affected my womb in a way. It wasn't with the childhood trauma. I had learned to live with that and make myself feel pseudo happy, like kind of
Yeah.
like psych myself into like a state of being. But like but like because no one had ever died that I had ever been really super duper close with. And my dad was the only person that had never physically hit me in my life.
Mm,
So I felt safe with him in the world. And when he
mhm,
died, I was like, what's really real? Like, what's really real?
yeah,
What is truth? What does this all mean? Like, how do you not, how do you go from calling me every day and, making dad jokes to not existing and being in an urn? It
yeah,
was super bizarre.
it
And
is.
it was like to wrap your head around like that was really difficult for me. I had to
Mhm,
learn. I feel like people don't talk about like how to live again after somebody dies. That's really profound in your life.
yeah,
And it's like you have to learn to breathe again. You have to learn how
yeah,
to get up in the morning again. You have to learn to reconnect to those around you because that relationship deeply affected how I had intimacy with my husband and
mhm,
how if I showered or ate that day or like how I like because I was so deeply depressed. I'm like, what does this mean? What's this life? Why am I doing all of this if it's gonna go like you're gonna have nothing in the end? Because
yeah,
he's just in an urn. Like it
yeah,
was so
right,
like what do you do? So with that, what essentially after much reflection is because of his death and that traumatic event, it left me being so jarred. I didn't feel safe
yeah, yeah,
world because
I
I had identified safety from him. I had anchored that emotion to that relationship. So
yeah,
when I started to get Reiki and the feeling of I was safe in my own body and I
mhm,
could take my first breath with that first Reiki session, that's what changed me. And
mm,
that's what opened my womb. So the
mm,
sooner that we can get a person feel safer in their own being or safer in their body, then the quicker we can get them to heal or move towards what they're wanting, even if that's a baby or not.
right, whatever it is you wanna create,
So
it's
that's
all
my number one
energetic.
tip. Yeah, the sooner that you can make yourself feel safe,
Yeah,
that's like the number one thing I will do with any coaching client is like,
yeah,
what makes you feel safe? Is it
yeah,
a blanket? Is it a certain corner of the couch? Where do you have a ritual that you do? Let's invent one that can make you feel like you're grounded and you can do consistently, and it doesn't have to be a big thing or anything witchy. Like
yeah,
for me, when I'm going through some heavy shit, there's a corner of the couch, a
mhm,
certain blanket, and I make a little station on the coffee table and I will exist there. When I've had
yeah,
some heavy stuff, I just exist there. I get up to pee and I eat from that coffee table and my husband's like, okay, we're
yeah,
processing. But it's like in that spot and in allowing myself to, you have to allow yourself to rest. I
mhm,
read this on a Instagram post of Manifestation Babe actually.
yeah,
Rest
love her.
has a large ROI, return on
Yeah,
investment. So the more that you can rest and allow yourself this space to move into feeling safe. You have to create space for healing.
yeah,
You have to create space for feeling your emotions. You have to pause to heal because you can't heal when you're go, go, go. There is a huge return on that.
yeah,
There's a huge
yeah,
return, a positive return. Like a
yep,
really so for me is when if you can create a ritual like that's just what I do. Some people go running. They might go for a walk. They might take a trip. Some of them might light a candle and do a bath. I have a lot of clients that just resonate with water.
yep.
Um, anything like that. So
It's
it's a
It's something that you
choice.
have to explore too, I think,
Yeah.
because like this is something I also approach first in my practice with people where it's like we have to access safety in the body. And sometimes that
Mm,
means exploring like what that means because of all the traumas, we might not really even understand what that looks like or what that feels like. So
right.
just playing with it, like I'm the same as you. I have this circular, it's a circle shaped couch. I call it the human dog bed.
Oh my
Because it's
gosh, I've always
literally just
wanted
like
one. I've seen those at Costco.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. It's like that. And even when I meditate and I'm trying to access safety in my body, I envision me sitting on that couch. So yeah, it's just something you get to play with and it's really important energetically. So this has been so good. Thank you for sharing all your beautiful knowledge. And how
Oh
can
my
people
goodness,
get in
thank
touch
you.
with you? Yeah, like we're gonna
Sure.
leave all the show notes or the links in the show notes, of course, but like where can
Perfect,
people
perfect.
stalk you?
Oh, Instagram and TikTok is the same handle, the Carolina Sotomayor. I'm most active and have the largest following on TikTok, but if you want to DM me, send me an Instagram, or you can find me on carolinasotomayor.com. If you DM me on Instagram, I'll voice note you back.
Yeah,
I'm always like, hey, Shanae, hey girl, hey.
yeah.
So, but yeah, just
Okay.
hit me up and I'd love to know what you think about this episode and if I can be of service to you.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for your time. And everyone, have a beautiful day and don't forget to love yourself. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. If you found this episode helpful in any way, I want to invite you to send it to someone who would benefit from it. Also, consider leaving a rate and review for the podcast, as it really does help the podcast get to the top of the recommendations list, so that even more people can get on the self-love train. Come follow me over on Instagram and TikTok at fortheloveof.self. That's at fortheloveof.self. Shoot me a message and let me know what your favorite takeaways were. I love meeting new people and watching them grow. And thank you again so much for tuning in today, as it really is an honor to be here with you. We'll catch you in the next one. Oh, and of course, don't forget to subscribe.